Welcome to the Wisdom for Life podcast with David Baker. David was a former paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division and for over 30 years has been a preacher. He has written 5 books and is an Amazon #1 best-selling author. He is the chaplain at the county jail, pastors a church, and is the father of 11 children. Yes, 11. This podcast is here to give you wisdom for your family, your marriage, your children, your finances, your health, and your life. And now, the host of Wisdom of Life podcast, David Baker.
All right. Hey, hello and welcome. It is Fabulous Friday, as we call it, dealing with family, marriage, children issues. And I have my wonderful, beautiful wife with me, Laura. Yes, Laura. It is, I have Laura with me. And so, hey, we're excited. I got some special things for you. Last time we talked about, do you remember?
Having children?
Oh, yes, having children. And we said you shouldn't just give up on it. Don't have children. By the way, interesting.
No, we didn't.
We didn't. Okay, that's not what we said. Interesting article that I just pulled up and saw. This is in England. A pastor had put a tweet out and said that he said, I recommend that every married couple has as many children as they possibly can. It is one of life's most wonderful things. Children are the heritage of the Lord, and through the womb is his reward. And so, but what happened, his declaration evoked a flurry of angry responses, particularly from the liberal clergy, dutifully burying their fire extinguishers to the flood wall. The most strident respondents even cracked jokes about sterilizing and killing him. Okay, it didn't work well. There's a lot of people that have a problem with that, but I think that's good. I think we ought to have as many children as God will allow us to have. God can open and close the womb, as the Bible says often, all right? So anyway, but that's what we talked about last week. And so there are a lot of people who do not like that issue. All right, we're going to have a marriage, and this is a New England love story. Are you ready? Ooh, okay, a New England love story. George and Aggie had lived on the cove just past Lewiston Tickle on the peninsula. It was early winter, and a large portion of the cove had frozen over. George asked Aggie if she would walk across the frozen part of the cove to the general store and get him some snacks. So she asked for the money, but he told her, nah, just put it on our tab. Old man Stacy won't mind. So his wife walked across the ice, got the snacks, and came back and walked across the cove. When she got home, she gave George his snacks and said, George, you always tell me not to run up the tab at Stacy's store. Why wouldn't you just give me the money? And George replied, well, honey, I didn't want to send you there with the cash. I wasn't sure how thick the ice was yet.
That's terrible.
Isn't that horrible?
Yes.
Oh, wow. He cared more about the cash, losing the cash, than his wife. So
That's awful.
Anyway, it was literally titled A New England Love Story. So,
brother.
Hey, date night, last time we talked about going to a concert. My wife and I got to go to a Voctive concert. It was amazing. If you've never heard them, get on YouTube and Google Voctive, Voctave. And they have some fun ones like the Grinch, amazing basses they have, and then a lot of Christmas carols. Oh Holy Night was incredible. O Come Ye Faithful. Some really, really good ones. You'll enjoy that. So, since we're on that entertainment, date night, hey, enjoy a good movie together. You can go to IMDb. It has an app, and you can read. It has parental controls on there, so you can go through and read. Okay, how much of this, how much of this, how much of this is on there, so you can see. It's pretty good in detail to be able to know. Okay, nope, that has too much of this. In the world, you're never going to get anything that's perfect. Even I remember looking at Andy Griffin and going, you know what? Well, there's a lot of bad. They're laughing and drinking. Andy smoking. Kids are disobedient, wrong discipline, but. Anyway, sometimes you use those to be able to say, all right, here's what you don't do. When we watch something like that with our kids, I'll stop and, all right, kids, what's the right way to be able to do this? And then they'll tell me the right way for it. So anyway, date night idea. All right, something funny. Kids, I don't know what you remember of this, but kids getting stuck or things getting stuck with kids. I'll tell you mine. When I was a kid, I was playing with peanut. Well, I was eating some peanuts, and I don't know why, but when I was little. But The peanut looked like, I wonder if that would fit up my nose. And guess what? It did. It fit up my nose. Guess what? It would not fit out. It would not come out. My parents could not get the peanut out of my nose. Yes, we had to go to the hospital to get the peanut out of my nose. And guess what my dear sweet mother did? Yes, she saved the peanut and put it in my baby book. Yes, she did. So,
Oh my goodness.
you remember stories of any of our kids getting stuck anywhere or anything?
I remember Larissa climbing in a bottom
You're
drawer.
not supposed to give the
Oh,
names.
not a name.
One of our children, okay?
But she was little, and it was cute. But she climbed in the bottom drawer of a dresser. I guess she had emptied it out first, climbed in the bottom drawer, and then kind of got stuck, trying to get back out. So I guess she didn't open it all the way, and so then she was calling for us to come get her. So that was kind of funny.
And of course, you have to stop and take a picture first. So
Right.
it's always funny when you see these pictures. The parents, why don't you help the kid? Why do you really have to stop and take a picture first? We do that with our grandchildren. We get pictures of them sent by their parents. We're like, okay, really? You're going to take a picture first and then go help them out of it. It's fun. It seems like always a kid gets their head stuck in the banister, because sometimes the banister, that go up the stairs, it's wide at one part and skinny at another, and they put their head in at the wide part, and then the skinny part, they can't get it out. That's always fun to see. I saw one, and it was an outdoor porch, and the kid got his head stuck, and they couldn't get it back there. Like, how in the world did you? They're dealing with it for a long time. And finally, the kid said, oh, I think I can go this way. So instead of pulling his head back through, he actually put his body and walked through the whole thing, and he was able to get out. So anyway, funny things kids do. Yes, watch out. They will get things stuck. So, all right, in these Fabulous Friday, we've talked about how we met, dated, fell in love, how to find the right one, how to stay pure until marriage. If you missed any, you can go back on there. They're always on Friday. I talked about getting married, setting up a new place, and last time, children. So now that we have children, what do we need to know? What do we need to know now? How to
Discipline them.
how to discipline them. Do you have to discipline children? Look,
Yes.
children are perfect. They're innocent. They never do anything wrong. Just let them do what they want to do, what
No way.
comes natural to them. Children aren't bad. Just they need to express themselves. How about that?
No way. That doesn't work.
All right. So
We've
I'll ask
seen
this
too many
question.
examples of that, and it was a bad thing.
It's amazing how many psychologists say that. Oh, if they're upset, just let them get it out of their system. Just, ignore them as they're throwing a fit on the floor. No, you don't ignore that. A child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. You do not ignore that.
And it just gets worse. It escalates. It doesn't get any
Absolutely.
better.
People say they'll grow out of that phase. Yes, growing, you help me. Is it bigger or smaller?
No, it's bigger.
So if they grow out of that phase, what are they going to grow into? Okay, it's worse. You always say a kid stole a piece of gum. Oh, they'll grow out of it. Yeah, next time it's a candy bar. Next time it's a bicycle. Next time it's a car. They're growing, okay? It's not a phase they grow out of. They're growing, and it grows into something worse. So bad behavior must be stopped. So I'll ask this question, let you get in trouble and not me. So at what age should you start disciplining your children?
Okay, so when they start exhibiting their will,
All right, and when you answer this the wrong way, I just want to make sure we have bail money.
Yeah, right.
Will they come for you?
No, it's when they start exhibiting their will, when you know that they know better, and they start, just like even when they're young and you have to put them in a car seat, and then they fight to get out, and they're screaming to get their way. They're not going to get in. Yeah, you might have to do something about that.
So here it is. There's not an age, and when we say the age, people go, oh no. So we don't say an age, but when you know, they know.
Yeah.
When you know, they know. This is wrong, and they know it. Okay, whatever that age is, that's when they need to be disciplined. On the fatty part of their leg, because they have a diaper and they're not going to feel it through their diaper, or the fatty part of their hand, the back of that, they need to know that this behavior is not allowed. And so, and children are different. Okay, we have 7 grandchildren, 1 on the way, and it's fun with my children when they say, "Wow, I had no idea how stubborn were we this stubborn," because they'll do something something wrong, they'll know it's wrong, they'll discipline them, and then they do it wrong again, and they're just doing it out of spite, like, you're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to do this if I want to. And at the end of the day, it needs to be parent, what score?
Well, 100%. I mean,
and kid score?
0.
0, okay? I jokingly say, children are terrorists. You don't negotiate with them. The parent has to win. When you let them win, they're going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and you're not going to be able to control them. And so when you see they know they're doing wrong, then they need to be disciplined, loving, biblical discipline to help them understand that. I teach a lot on this and some other things. I have a full children's program that people can go through, but it is a major thing to understand what God says. Who's the best parent ever? God. The best father ever is God. How does God discipline his children?
Well, he spanks us. He chastises us.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you're not going to get any better than God. So you think you and Spock or you and some psychologist know more than God? No. Are there other ways you can get your children to obey you without spanking them? Absolutely you can. And bribery, manipulation, tricking, controlling. Yeah, a lot of things you can do, but it doesn't yield what the Bible says is a peaceable fruit of righteousness. Chastisement does that. We're going to go through. I've got 14 points, and we're not going to get to all of them because of time. If you want this lesson, email me at askpastorbaker@gmail.com, askpastorbaker@gmail.com, and I'll send you a PDF of these, okay? There are 14 points. We're going to try to run through them how we can, but so many times discipline was, wait till the next commercial. As a kid growing up. Now the commercial comes, whap, 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 whap. We go back. How much love was felt? What was the priority? What's more important than anything? That TV show, okay? And the kid made me mad enough, I've got to go spank him and then go back to my TV show. That does not transfer loving biblical discipline. And when it's not done right, then the bitterness comes, the hurt comes. When discipline is done right, it builds a stronger relationship with the child. They come toward you, they love you, they want to hug you, they want it to be restored, they want to make it right. So any thought on that? And I'll tell one more story and we'll get into our points.
No, just go on to the next one.
All right.
I think that's good.
So literally, I had a child, one of my children, call me today. Okay, he is an adult, and he was asking me about discipline. He goes, "Dad, do you have anything written on it?" He said, "I know." This is an adult, okay? He said, "Dad, I know when you spanked me, I felt like you loved me, you cared about me, but you were trying to help me to make sure that I turned out right." And he said, "Dad, that's how I felt when you spanked me." Wow, sure. So literally this lesson, I said, in fact, Mom and I are getting ready to teach on that. I'll send it to you. So I just sent these points to my son. So 14 points. And again, you're not going to remember it all. I think you need a copy of it where you can have this in front of you. Feel free to, if you want to make it better, you can, but make sure the principles are there. First thing to do is to determine what are spanking offenses. Not everything a child does deserves a spanking. If you have 20 spanking offenses, they probably won't remember all of them. Some parents make it very simple. That's what we want to do, is to say there's only one spanking offense, and that is
direct disobedience.
Direct disobedience. If you directly disobey something, it's easy for a child to understand. Now that encompasses lying, hitting, back talking, because they're told not to do that. If they do that, that's direct disobedience. Okay? The child should not receive a spanking for something that is not understood as a spanking offense. Just because you're mad. You dropped my favorite china and you broke it. Do we spank for that?
No, that's an accident.
But that was expensive. Do we spank for that?
No.
No. Now, if they were told not to play with it, and they're playing catch with it, and they broke it, now what?
Well, then they would need discipline because they disobeyed us.
Now that's direct disobedience. Understand that. But so many parents that say, oh yeah, they only spank when they get mad enough. Exactly opposite, okay? That's number 3. But number 2 is, so then determine in your mind they did something worthy of spanking and send them to, quote, the
spanking room.
The spanking room, okay? It should not be for a long time because the child left to himself bringing his mother to shame. But a couple minutes to think about what they did is good to do. Some people use the child's room. Some people use the parent's room. Some have a different room in the house. We usually send them to their own room. We don't want them to think of mom and dad's room as the discipline room, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got 3 other kids in there that are sleeping or whatever, you may have to go to a different room. And this room is, quote, jokingly called the spanking room, okay? All right, number 3, never spank in
Anger.
anger. If you're angry, don't spank them. Wait till you're calm. Seriously. Many parents can only spank their children when they get upset enough. That's going to cause rebellion and bitterness. Now, will you always do it perfectly? No, you won't. One time my son said, Dad, don't you teach you're not supposed to discipline when you're mad? Yes, son, that's exactly what I teach. But you're not going to be perfect, but that is your goal, to do not spank when you're angry, because many times you will spank too much. Okay? Next, after you're convinced they did something worthy of spanking, you sent them to the room, you should not be angry. Enter in with the...
Well, a paddle or a rod, whatever you want to call it, but just it's not something you're going to beat them with or anything, but just a little paddle, something enough to sting.
Yes, and so the Bible says, a rod and reproof give correction. You do not want to spank them with your hand. That's what you love them with, okay? So it shouldn't be their hand. It ought to be, the Bible calls it a rod, something that's flat and only given on their bottom. That's the place God made it. There's no vital organs there. You're not going to hurt anything, but there's a lot of nerve endings that will sting, okay? And that's what you want. All right, so now you need to spend a few minutes talking with the child and make sure they understand a few things. First is, don't preach to them or yell or scream or tell them how bad they are and put them down. That's not going to help, okay? Logically, calmly understand. Number 1, make sure they're guilty. Make sure they understand what they did wrong. If you have to bring witnesses, have a home trial, that's fine. They need to admit what they did was wrong. Many times when my wife is dealing with a situation, she will say...
I would say, well, honey, can you deal with this? Because they didn't want to admit that they did something wrong, and they were trying to get out of it. And I wanted to make sure, first of all, that they understood it. But even if they understand it, they want to try to get out of it. So I want them to admit it also.
Yes, and she knows I am the great interrogator. I've got the battery with the cables.
No, that's not true at all. Oh my goodness. Don't joke
okay,
like
we're
that.
joking. We're joking, all right? No, I've never tortured my children, but
Never.
I ask God for wisdom. Here's what I do. I go to God and say, God, it's not fair that I've got to rear children and I don't see everything they do. You see everything I do wrong, so you can discipline me. I can't see everything my children do. God, you've got to give me wisdom. I can't discipline, correct my children unless I know what they're doing wrong. Give me wisdom to ask the right questions so I can find out the truth of it. It's amazing. Every time so far, 30 years of children, our oldest is 30, God has let me know the truth of that. I've come back and asked my kids, have I ever disciplined you wrong? Did I ever discipline you when you didn't deserve it? And for the shock of me, they say no, because we went through this process. And children, as you know, you discipline them when they don't deserve it, they will get bitter and hurt, and they hold on to those things. And I would make sure we didn't do that. So make sure they did that was wrong. This is under point 5. There's 3 points. Make sure they're guilty. Next, they need to understand that this is what God tells us to do as parents, that we are disobedient to our Heavenly Father if we don't spank them when it is needed. And then number 3 under this, they need to understand that you love them. This discipline is not punishment. It's a tool God gives us to instill discipline in them. We want our children to have self-discipline. And spanking helps them to discipline themselves so the parents will not need to. Many times the child says, I don't want to do that because that's going to get me a spanking. That's going to give me discipline, so I will self-discipline myself so my parents don't have to discipline me. If you understand that, that's it. It's not a punishment. It's not my kid did bad, now I get to beat him. No, it's not a punishment at all. It is teaching them to have self-discipline, that they will make themselves do what they know they're supposed to do without somebody making them do that. Okay? Really big. By teaching them that God tells us we must spank them because we love them, they will not be bitter toward the parent. but love them more. Okay, we're at number 6 of 14. We're going to go through 7. I think we're just going to make this a 2.1 because it is just that important. Either week you can email and ask Pastor Baker, and I'll send you the copy of it. But we want to go through and teach this, and this is not something you want to just skip over. Okay, so to be able to do that. All right, and so here's the last one. We'll just do this. When it comes to actually spanking the child, tell them to bend over and apply the spanking directly to the rear end. I've already said that. This is a place where God has specifically designed for discipline. We should never, ever hit them in the face, the back, the arm. That's not discipline, that's abuse, okay? It really is that big and that important. That is not what you want to do. You're not in control. That's abuse. You're going to create bitterness and hurt in that child that you're going to have a hard time overcoming. All right, final thoughts for you on this part of the lesson.
Well, I just always want to make sure that they feel my love, that I want to make sure that they change their behavior, and that I want for them to have a beautiful, wonderful life. And if they continue this behavior, they're not going to have that. And so I want to make sure that they understand that and that I love them. And that's why I do this.
Don't miss the next part of that because we tell them up front that we understand this is from the Bible. The kids have the verses about that. But it's a big deal after the spanking what to do to make sure that they understand and feel loved. So we'll finish that next time, next Friday, okay? If you want the lesson, email AskPastorBaker and at gmail.com and we'll get that to you. All right. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Wisdom for Life podcast. If you have any questions for us, email us at askpastorbaker@gmail.com, and we will answer them in an upcoming podcast. The email is askpastorbaker@gmail.com.